Meeting is called to order. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Sagerbrook.
Here.
Commissioner Renzi. Commissioner Menace.
Here.
Commissioner Heinen.
Here.
Commissioner Womack.
Here.
Commissioner Green. Chairman Kiefer.
Present.
Park District. School District. Fire District. Library District.
Thank you. Gentlemen, in front of you, you have the minutes from our December 6, 2016 Plan Commission meeting. Please let me know if there are any corrections or adjustments you'd like to be made. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. We'll accept the minutes as presented. At this time, we have some time set aside for public comments for anything that is not on our agenda this evening. So any item that is not on our agenda, this is the time for the public to address anything that they might like to. Okay, hearing none, we'll move into, do we have a development report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Village Board did meet last night and considered or took action on two cases that were recently before the Plan Commission. The first case is related to the Blue House that Rick Baker owns adjacent to Overman Jones Funeral Home. The board directed the village attorney to prepare ordinances for rezoning of that property. There are actually two parcels currently zoned R1 and B1. And so the ordinance was directed to rezone the property to BT Business Transition. And when that ordinance comes back, staff will also seek a motion for approval of the site plan review for that building. And then likewise, the village board did direct the attorney to prepare an ordinance for approval of the variance for the pool retaining wall encroachment that had been constructed and was requested kind of after the fact. So I think the board was probably of a similar mindset as the Plan Commission. We don't want to see this become a common practice, and so we'll do our best to put the residents and builders on notice. So it's our hope that we don't see a number of these kind of after the fact variances moving forward, but the board was understanding and concurred with the Plan Commission or the zoning board's recommendation in that case.
We had a bit of a discussion on that too, and we were wondering if it was even possible to maybe send someone from the village out before ground's broken or something, just to check where they have the lines marked, or I don't know, because it seems like the problem is once they started to break ground and actually build it, then they measured it again.
In each of the two cases we've had recently, the improvements have not been constructed in accordance with the
Exactly.
approved plans, and so I think there's a balance between wanting to be user-friendly and not requiring surveys and additional inspections for the 95% of the folks who move forward pursuant to their plans and their drawings. So, but I think we're all on board that we want to see this the exception, not the rule.
Certainly.
And then I guess
May I ask a quick question on that?
Certainly, go ahead.
One of the items was discussed was, actually the village requiring a grading plan for when a pool's, being installed. And I think that application, if a grading plan was prepared, they would have noticed that there was a vertical change or a difference, which, then would have alleviated that issue. I do that on a lot of my projects for a lot of my, clients because municipalities require it. I think that would have actually alleviated the issue that came in front of us if the village required a grading plan. I don't know if that was discussed at all.
no.
Okay. So that's one thing I think was one of the action items to talk to Public Works about. I'm a big supporter of that because, again, I think a lot of these issues can be flushed out at the planning phase or design phase versus construction phase.
Yes, I did mention that, and I believe I included that in the zoning board of appeals recommendation form that we now provide.
Okay.
So just wanted to let
Thank
you
you.
know that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And then, Mr. Chairman, one more note from last night's meeting, if I may. Trustee Rasich announced his resignation from the board, and he's got some specific reasons. It's his to share. So nothing. It's all related to just his personal, he and his wife, and what their plans are for where they're going to spend time and call their home. So there's nothing controversial per se. But I did want to note it because Trustee Rasich started out on the zoning board and the plan commission, as a number of our trustees have, and has been a big supporter and advocate of the work that you folks do here on Tuesday nights. So I thought I would share that information.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank him for his service. I know he will be missed.
Yes, we wish him well. That's it for development report. For the plan commission, as far as old business, we had one case. It was 1743-11116/SU/SPR. And it's for 23755 West 135th Street. This was a case we had that had asked for a continuance. We've had another request to continue this case to the January 3rd, 2017 Plan Commission meeting. So I would need a motion to do that. I would entertain that right now.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded to continue this case to the January 3rd, 2017 Plan Commission meeting. Can we get a vote by roll call, please?
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinen,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerbrook,
Yes.
Commissioner Menace,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
Yes. So this case will be continued on to the January 3rd, 2017 meeting. We'll move into new business. There is no new business before us for the Plan Commission. We'll hold discussion to the end of the zoning board if there is any. What I'd like to do is move directly into the zoning board. So I'm going to adjourn, unless anybody has something for the Plan Commission other than that. I'm going to adjourn the Plan Commission meeting at 7:08. And we will move directly into the zoning board. So at 7:08, the Zoning Board of Appeals is called to order. Could we get a roll call for the zoning board, please?
Commissioner Segerbrook,
Here.
Commissioner Renzi, Commissioner Menace,
Here.
Commissioner Heinen,
Here.
Commissioner Womack,
Here.
Commissioner Green, Chairman Kiefer.
Present.
Park District, School District, Fire District, Library District.
Thank you. In your package, you have the minutes from our Zoning Board of Appeals meeting that was held on December 6, 2016. Are there any corrections or amendments that need to be made? Okay, hearing none, we will accept the minutes as presented. At this time, are there any public comments for any item that is not on the agenda for the zoning board this evening? We have time set aside for any public comments or anything related to the zoning board that is not on tonight's agenda. Hearing none from the public. We've already had development report. There is no old business before us for the zoning board. We'll move directly into new business. We have one case this evening. It is case number 1744-113016.VAR, and it's for 12549 South Wingston Street, and it's a request for a variance, and this includes the public hearing for that. Do we have a staff report regarding this case?
Yes, we do. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The case that we have before you, it's located at 12549 South Wingston Street. It is at the northeast corner of Wingston Street and Cordellis Street in the Village of Plainfield. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a fence in the corner side yard of their property. The fence will be a 5-foot aluminum fence, and the applicant is requesting an encroachment into the corner side yard of approximately 30 feet, and is proposing that the fence be located 1 foot from the edge of the sidewalk, which it will run parallel to. The adjacent land uses, zoning, and street classifications are as follows. There's single-family detached residential on all sides, and on the south side of the property is Cordellis Street. On the west side of the street is Wingston Street. The subject property is lot number 191. The applicant is requesting to build a 5-foot aluminum fence enclosing the rear yard and a portion of their corner side yard. The proposed fence design will include 1 inch by 1 and 1/8 of an inch reinforced rail with with pickets that are 5/8 of an inch. The applicant has submitted a graphic depicting what the proposed fence will look like. The applicant is proposing that the fence run from the northernmost point of the house north, travel along the north property line, travel along the eastern property line, and then travel travel parallel to and approximately 1 foot north of the sidewalk along Cordialis Street, and then turn north to meet the southern facade of the house on an angle perpendicular to Cordialis Street. The proposed route of the fence is indicated on a plat of survey that the applicant has provided. The village zoning ordinance prohibits fences from being placed in a corner side yard. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow them to encroach into the corner side yard a distance of approximately 30 feet. And just as information, while this is what the applicant is requesting, the board is free to use their discretion as they wish to make modifications to that. One of the reasons that the applicant has asked for the variance is that Wingstem Street generates significant traffic on school days due to the proximity to Heritage Grove Middle School, which is located about a block to the north. Other reasons that the applicant has provided including ensuring the safety of their 2 active young children, ages 10 and 12 years old, as well as the safety of a disabled adult who wouldn't otherwise be able to be safely outside by themselves. Village staff also observes that the street along the corner side yard, Cordialis Street, runs at an angle to the corner side yard, reducing the buildable area in the rear yard, creating a hardship for the homeowner. In accordance with Section 9-33 of the village's zoning ordinance, the Zoning Board of Appeals shall not recommend approval of, nor shall the village board grant a variance from the regulations of the zoning ordinance unless it makes the following findings based on the evidence presented. The petitioner is seeking relief from Section 9-86 of the zoning ordinance, which prohibits fences from being placed in a corner side yard. The findings of fact that need to be made are as follows. The variance is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. As set forth in Section 9-4 of the zoning ordinance, the ordinance is adopted for a number of reasons, including the purpose of protecting the public health, safety, and general welfare of the village, maintaining and promoting orderly land use patterns, protecting the quality of life for village residents, protecting the character of existing residential neighborhoods, and implementing the village's policies and goals to include those of the comprehensive plan. Staff submits that the 30-foot encroachment of an aluminum fence into a corner side yard is mostly consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. While orderly land use patterns are not promoted by allowing some corner side yards to be encroached upon while others are not, this encroachment does not do anything to hinder the character of the neighborhood or the quality of life for village residents. The fence will feature an attractive design that will add to the quality and character of the neighborhood. Additionally, by allowing the encroachment, it protects the safety and furthers the welfare and quality of life for residents in the neighborhood, allowing active children and a disabled adult to more fully and independently enjoy their yard while reducing the likelihood of vehicular pedestrian conflicts. The second finding of fact that needs to be made is that the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances, and thus strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties or impose exceptional hardships due to the special and unusual conditions that are not generally found in other properties in the same zoning district. The applicant has demonstrated a unique, unusual, and exceptional hardship in this case. The physical characteristics of this property create a hardship in that Cordialis Street runs on an angle to the corner side yard, reducing the buildable area in the rear yard of the property. Furthermore, the applicant has demonstrated an additional unique situation in that a disabled adult lives there, can't currently be outside by themselves. Allowing this variance would allow the disabled adult to more independently and more fully enjoy their yard and the outdoors. A third finding of fact that needs to be made is that the property cannot yield a reasonable use if permitted only under the conditions allowed by the zoning ordinance. Staff believes that the angle at which Cordialis Street runs along the corner side yard creates an unusual circumstance that impacts the applicant and what they're able to do with their property. While the property could still yield a reasonable use if permitted only under the conditions allowed by the zoning ordinance, the area is certainly lessened in comparison to other corner lots in the village due to the angle of the street. The final finding of fact that needs to be made is that the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character or the locality and will not be a substantial detriment to adjacent property. Staff believes that granting a variance in this case would not alter the essential character of this neighborhood. It would not be a detriment to adjacent property. Staff finds that the proposed fence will be constructed of quality materials and will feature a design that is warm and open while protecting the safety of residents, furthering quality of life, and adding to the value of the property and the character of the neighborhood. As far as public comments that staff has received, there was only one phone call that I'm aware of from a resident who had some concerns because they heard a rumor that the applicant wanted to have chickens and other livestock in their yard, and that's why they wanted to do this. So I informed them that that was not the case, and that then they were receptive, and they were concerned about the type of fence that was being considered, and I told them that it was not solid, it was not board on board. I explained the design to them, and they seemed to feel comfortable with that. Based on the foregoing analysis, prior to direction from the Zoning Board of Appeals, staff recommends approval. Should the Zoning Board of Appeals concur, the following motion is offered for your consideration as stated in the staff report. And that concludes the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone representing the applicant this evening? Did you want to offer any testimony? Yeah, please step over to the microphone. And I need to swear you in, so please raise your right hand. Do you swear that all testimony you give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you please state your name for the recording secretary?
Lockhart.
And please proceed if you'd like to add anything to what we've heard so far.
What do you mean?
Well, do you have anything you'd like to
No,
comment on regarding
Sir. No, sir.
your application? Okay. Well, if you could, just please remain there in
Yes.
case commissioners have questions or anybody else might want to
Yes.
ask you something, so thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask a question this evening or comment on this case? Could I get you to approach this microphone, please? I also need to swear you in, so just raise your hand. Do you swear that all testimony you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name for the recording secretary.
Scott Bertulis.
Go ahead.
My concern is, we have an association as well, and, this is one part of it, but just wanted to know that there's association approval as well. And how does that process work?
Did the association approve this as well? or not?
We have a master association for the Heritage Meadows, and this is a hearing for the village. I just wanted to know if this type of design is acceptable to the association and how that process works as well as in getting approval from the association. I know I had to get special approval from my association. I live on Corey Dallas, right across the street, and I had to get special approval for a deck that I had
Sure.
built, and, I just want to know that whatever is being done is going to be acceptable to the association as well.
Jonathan, do you want to comment on the?
So certainly, sir, I
process?
can speak to that. In general, the Village of Plainfield, when we're aware that an HOA has a purview over a case, we will ask the applicant to demonstrate the HOA's approval of whether it's for a new home construction before a building permit is issued, a fence, a detached garage, those sorts of things. HOAs can be more restrictive than the village, so the group that's prepared to make a recommendation this evening, and ultimately our Board of Trustees, if they were to approve a request, whether it's what the applicant's currently seeking or some compromise or modification of that, the HOA could approve something that's more restrictive than that. So just the mere fact that the village perhaps would approve an ordinance, and I'm not to say that this variance request will be approved, but if it were, the HOA could still hold the resident to a higher or a more restrictive standard, so.
Sure.
The HOA's rules
Just
would-
curious, chicken and the egg, which approval comes first?
Sure.
Because it was that was the big question when I got, the two applications said two different things.
Sure.
One said I had to get approval from the village, and the other one said I had to get approval, so I was just kind of confused on that process, so.
Okay.
And I know we're reinstating our association as well, and that just happened like a couple months ago, so that was another concern that I had, because we have the Master Association, and then we have the Estates at Heritage Meadows Association that was just reinstated just recently, so. But thank you.
I think
That's all.
hopefully that clears that up. Have you sought approval from your homeowners association for the fence?
I
design?
spoke to them. They say that they will go according to the Village of Plainfield. So I don't know. I have to get approval from the village first, then I
And then you
talk
take
to
it
them.
back to
Yes.
them? Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, we'll open questioning up to the commissioners. You're free to ask questions or comment on this application before us.
So I just want to make sure the applicant understands, and I think you do. So you've come here before this zoning board to seek this variance as far as where you're going to position the fence.
Yes, sir.
But then you'll still end up having to get a building permit from the village for the fence. And
Yes.
what they're saying is, you know, that you'll also need to get your association approval.
Yes.
And possibly your association, you know, they probably want to wait and see what the village is going to approve
Yes,
first, and
yes.
then, you know, but it's always possible the association might
Say no.
do
yes.
something, might say no, might do
Yes.
something. And then, at that point, you know, if they said no, then you'd, you know, maybe not have to come back here, you might not need a variance anymore, then you could just go ahead and get your permit, you know.
Yes.
So, there's a couple of ways that could go. The one question I had is, so, your lot is a little unusual shape because of the angle of the street, so, as, you know, your rear yard kind of gets smaller as you go because of the way the street angles.
Yes, yes.
But as far as, you know, spacing the fence like a foot away from the sidewalk, or how are you planning to maintain that? Are you planning to just, I mean, you're gonna leave it in grass right up to the sidewalk and just trim it along the fence, or had you thought about that?
This is what I'm asking for, but they don't have to be all the way to the sidewalk. I can, you know, back in like a little bit so I can plant the tree outside so they can look good for the neighborhood.
Okay, so you might not go within a foot of the
Yes,
sidewalk, you may go
yes.
farther back,
Yes.
depending on what you wanna do for landscaping along there.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I plan.
Because you know, usually we always say, you know, we want you to at least think about it, you know, what were you planning to do to maintain? You know, you wanna leave it back far enough so if it's just gonna be grass, you can at least run a mower along there, or, you know.
I will plant the tree,
Okay, some,
tree on the side,
okay.
next to the sidewalk.
Low, like bushes, low bushes or
Yes,
something?
yes.
Okay, so yeah, you probably would have to back it up some for
Yes,
doing that.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I guess my thoughts is, you know, I like the fence material. I mean, there's no way we would approve a board on board, but, you know, it's a decorative fence. It's, you can see through it, so I'm fine with that. In regards to the lot configuration, I mean, it's a pretty big lot. 16,266 is a, you know, relatively big lot. You know, especially since we're approving 8,000 square foot lots now. My sense is that, you know, 1 foot away from the sidewalk is tight. I know we got this ordinance because we don't want that corridor type feel, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But having it that close feels too close. I'm wondering if, you know, if we push it, you know, 10 feet away from the sidewalk, you know, maybe up to the 10-foot public utility easement and drainage, or I'm sorry, utility and drainage easement, keep it out of there. You still be able to get a lot of the backyard to be utilized, but, you know, it doesn't have that corridor type feel as you're walking down Corey Dallas Street. So I just want to get the thoughts from the other commissioners on that.
Well, I just comment too, I understand what you're saying. However, across the street to the south, it's their driveway, so where we'd have that corridor is if, let's say the house to the south is facing the same direction and they also wanted to do that, and we have fences on
Yeah,
both sides, and we
yeah.
definitely would wanna avoid that.
Yeah.
I don't know that we'd have that effect with the way it's presented. Personally, I don't know if we're gonna variance, it sounds like he's not even gonna go up, he's gonna have to back it off the sidewalk anyway to do his landscaping that he wants. I think he's requesting up to as close to a foot, but it doesn't sound like it's actually gonna be the case. What do the other commissioners feel as far as the distance request?
I'm curious, I see some existing trees on I think that's the south end of the lot. Are those still there? I mean, I'm not sure when this aerial was taken, but I'm just kind of looking at physically lining that up. Are you planning to remove those
I-
trees to install this, or?
Yes, I will remove and plant a new tree along with the fence, because those trees are too old now.
Okay.
It's time for them to replace.
I mean, my initial thought is maybe a good compromise would be to maintain that south corner, then grant an encroachment as you kind of come off due east due to the hardship of the street, but I don't know if that would be appealing to you or not, as sort of a compromise to to allow some encroachment into that side yard, but
Yeah,
then also.
I guess I'm not buying the hardship of Corey Dallas Street. I
Mhm.
mean, you look at that side yard, so the front of the house is 42 feet away from the property line. I mean, that's a huge side yard. You don't see that on a lot of lots. I mean, usually that's 15, 20 feet. So my take on it is that he's actually getting an additional yard because of Corey Dallas versus a hardship associated with that. So that's why I think having some separation from the sidewalk to the location of the fence may be worthwhile, but again, I'm open for suggestions on that.
Oh, Commissioner Sagerbush has
No,
pulled up
it's-
this. I got, he's trying to show you how close that is too. I don't know.
Here, that's pretty good. Sorry.
No,
Kind of a different, it's an alternative aerial shot, but
Let me ask you another question. So do you understand the concept of this, why it would be a variance? Because your neighbor to the east, I mean, that's his front yard, correct? I mean, for you, it's a side yard on that side of the house, right? But your neighbor on Corey Dallas going east, that's his front yard, correct? Do you understand that?
If not his front yard, if next to his garage, so.
But it's the front of his house faces
Yes,
Corey
yes,
Dallas,
yes,
right?
sir, yes.
So when you have a corner lot like this, the reason the ordinance, the side of your house has got to be set back at least as far as the front of his house from that street, Corey Dallas. So when you bring your fence farther, essentially that's the same as, it's next door to his front yard, you
Yes.
see? And a big factor is, what's the design of the fence? Because if you wanted to, say, put up a 6-foot solid wood fence, that would have a huge impact visually. Your neighbor next door with his front yard, I mean, he's going to look one way and he's not going to be able to see down the street because your fence would block the view. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're at a corner like that with a solid fence, it can be an obstruction for traffic, people trying to see around the corner and things like that. So the fact that you have this open design, that
Yes.
is in your favor, because it does allow the visibility. And, it doesn't really obstruct the neighbor's view as much as a solid fence would. So, but I just want to make sure you understood why it's a
Yes, sir.
variance. I
Yes.
mean, it does affect your neighbor to the
Yes.
east. And in general, I mean, like some of the other commissioners have said, you do have a very large lot. And, I mean, it is a large side setback, so it is quite a bit of space you're capturing there.
If I may, I wanted to let the zoning board of appeals know that you can also, you might want to also amend your motion to include the fence design in it, so to make sure that it is an open style design fence and not board on board. I didn't include that, but that might be something you might want to consider adding.
well, you had the description of the fence in your staff report,
Yeah, aluminum.
Right. Okay.
so that would become part of the record.
Okay.
Well, we have some discussion here, and I think Commissioner Heinen's viewpoint that this is too much of a variance. How do the other commissioners feel about maybe moving it off the sidewalk a little further?
Well, just for the benefit of the newer commissioners too, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2 years ago, we had a case right on the other side of Wingstem up at the street with the cul-de-sac, closer to the school, where they wanted to then do the same thing. They were on the corner of Blazing Star and Wingstem, and they wanted to go into that side yard next to Wingstem. I think they did a metal fence, an open design fence. I don't think they went all the way out to the sidewalk. They maybe went halfway from the house to the sidewalk.
Okay.
And I think if I remember right, it was because they had a patio or something they were worried about going around. But in that case, I think it was then after the fact. They'd already put the fence up and then, had to get the variance. But that was just, like I said, a block away.
So that was done as sort of a split the difference.
Yeah, they didn't go all the way out to the sidewalk. I think, Andy, do you remember?
I do. I remember.
It was about halfway, wasn't it?
I
I think?
remember it being about halfway.
Yeah, from the
But
house.
it's going
to the-
off memory. So.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I support the fence material. I like, obviously the idea and understand the restrictions of the lot, but I do feel that the 1 foot spacing between the sidewalk is gonna be too tight and kind of encroaching on the sidewalk for anyone that might be trying to utilize that public space. So I do like some kind of a landscaping buffer that, could be somehow incorporated between where the fence line would be and that sidewalk to push it back a few feet at least.
I'd definitely go with Andy on, I mean, if you backed it up 10 feet and preserved that easement, do you understand what that easement is
yes,
too?
yes.
If for some reason
yes.
they had to do some
Yes,
kind of utility work,
I'm happy to back up 10 feet and
To the 10
plant,
feet,
the
to that
tree
line?
outside, so they can look.
and
good
that
for
way it
everyone.
wouldn't be in the easement, and
Yes.
if they ever did have to do anything, they
Yes.
wouldn't have to disturb your fence
Yes.
either.
Yeah.
So,
That's great. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I support that.
Commissioner Womack, you good with that?
Yeah, I think that's a good compromise here.
Any other comments or questions regarding this?
Make a motion?
so we have to make an amended motion.
Yeah,
actually.
we would have to.
That's fine.
Well, the chair would entertain a motion regarding the application's request.
So I move we adopt the findings of fact of staff as the findings of fact of the zoning board of appeals and recommend approval of a variance to permit a fence up to 30 feet into the corner side yard, but no more than 10 feet from the edge of the sidewalk along Corey Dallas Street for the property located at 12549 South Wingstem Street.
Okay, do we need to, Andy, I think we need to say no less than 10 feet, right, from the sidewalk? No more
Yeah,
than 10
you're right.
feet?
No,
Sorry.
Strike that. You want to?
Strike that. Yeah, do you want me to do it again?
Why don't we give it another go?
Thank you for the clarification. All right, I move we adopt the findings of fact of staff as the findings of fact of the zoning board of appeals and recommend approval of a variance to permit a fence up to 30 feet into the corner side yard, but no less than 10 feet from the edge of the sidewalk along Corey Dallas Street for the property located at 12549 South Wingstem Street.
I'll
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. It's an amended motion. We get a vote by roll call, please.
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerbrook,
Yes,
Commissioner Menace,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinen,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
Yes. So this motion passes. So what will happen, you understand what our
Yes,
amendment
yes.
was? So it will have to be no closer than that.
Yes, 10 feet, at
Yes.
least 10 feet away from the
Sidewalk.
sidewalk.
Correct.
Yes.
So what will happen is this will go forward to the village board. Please be in touch with staff for the time and date.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay, good luck. And then, of course,
Thank you.
pending that, their action, you're gonna have to go forward to your homeowners association
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any open discussion or any items that any of the commissioners like to bring up?
I just wanted to say it's refreshing to have a case come before us for variance when it's being requested prior to the action being taken rather than after.
It's true.
Agreed. Agreed.
I'd say half of these are after the fact.
Well, hearing nothing else, unless somebody want to just stay inside to stay a little warmer, or I think we're okay. We will adjourn at 7:34. Let me just also point out that the next scheduled Plan Commission meeting is January 3rd, 2017. The next village board meeting is scheduled for January 9th, 2017. Anybody watching at home, check the website of the village for any updates if those were to be canceled or changed. And at 7:34, we will adjourn.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.